Welcome to Time Travel Tuesday. My name is Lisa. I'm an interpreter here at historic Braddonsville. And today I'd like to share with you the origins of some of our Easter traditions, and also how to dye eggs with materials our ancestors would have had access to. In colonial times, Easter was rarely celebrated as a holiday. Most Protestant denominations at that time felt that since the Bible stated that the Sabbath was the only holy day, that was the only day that should be observed. The Bratton family, being Presbyterian, most likely followed this practice. Many of our current traditions become popular in the Victorian era as Protestants began to rediscover the practices of the early church. But a lot of the symbols we associate with Easter today actually predate Christianity and were just adopted by early Christians. The very word Easter comes from the name of an Anglo-Saxon goddess, Ostra, also called Astarte. Her festival was associated with the spring equinox, and early Christians blended that celebration into their new faith. Early Christians would wear their finest clothes on Easter Sunday to honor the resurrected Savior. This tradition continued down through the centuries, and by the early 20th century, stores began to popularize the idea of Easter outfits as a way to boost sales. In New York City, it became common to take a stroll down Fifth Avenue on Sunday afternoon to show off your finery, and this evolved into the Easter parade. Springtime is often the time of year when rabbits begin to have babies, and the sudden increase in the rabbit population did not go unnoticed by our ancestors. Rabbits easily became a sign of spring, and eventually became associated with Easter. According to one old German story, a poor woman would hide colored eggs in her garden for the children of the village to find. One year, as they searched, a rabbit came hopping by, and the children became convinced that the rabbit must have brought the eggs. And this may have led to the tradition of Easter baskets. Once children began to think that a bunny was bringing the eggs, they began to make little nests out in the yard so that the treats could be deposited safely. Egg hunts seem to have originated with Martin Luther. Men hid eggs for the women and children to find. This is intended to remind us of the joy that the women felt when they found the empty tomb. Easter dinner was often a big feast to celebrate the end of the period of fasting known as Lent. Lamb and ham are both traditionally associated with the meal. In Jewish tradition, lamb was served at Passover. As a symbol of sacrifice, it came to represent Christ's sacrifice for the sins of the world. Ham symbolizes good luck in many cultures, and was frequently used for celebrations of all kinds. In addition, hogs were generally slaughtered in winter, and the process of smoking and salting would be just about done around Easter. But let's go back to those eggs. Many pre-Christian cultures, including Greeks and Egyptians, believed that eggs represented fertility and new life. Early Christians recognized the egg as a symbol of life coming from a lifeless shell. The colors they used for dye represented specific things to the early church: yellow for resurrection, blue for love, red for blood. Alternatively, those with artistic talent might paint scenes from the Bible onto the egg. So, how did they color eggs in Victorian times when they didn't have modern dyes like we use today? Well, they used a lot of things that they had in their environment. Purple cabbage will turn your eggs blue. Red onion skins will turn them lavender. Yellow onion strings will turn orange. Shredded beets will turn them pink. We're going to work today with turmeric, which will turn them bright yellow. But any of those things, generally in your kitchen, if it's going to dye your hands, it will dye your eggs. So you can try out just about anything. So to start with, you need water. You need about 4 cups of water for every dozen eggs. And we're using turmeric today, so we've got our 4 cups of water, and we're going to put in about 2 tablespoons of turmeric. So once we've got our dye stuff in our water, we're going to boil it. I'm going to hang it here in the fireplace and wait for it to come to a boil. Once it's come to a boil, then we want to reduce the temperature and let it simmer for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Depends on how dark you want your dye to get. So what we have done is taken some of our turmeric, which is this lovely yellow spice here. It's related to curry. And we have put it in a pot of boiling water and let it simmer around for a little bit to get nice and yellow. And we will, once it's cooled down, we will be ready to dye with it. Once your dye has cooled to about room temperature, you may need to strain it depending on what you used for dye stuff. You'll want to strain out the onion skin or the cabbage. Since we use turmeric and it's ground already, it's a powder, we don't need to strain it. I'm gonna add a little bit of vinegar to it, and then you can pour it over your hard-boiled eggs. Now, I do need to say that we are, for purposes of being able to see it today, we're using a glass mason jar. Mason jars were not actually invented until 1855, so we're kind of pushing the edge on the historical accuracy here, but we're doing it so that we can see what's happening. We have our lovely yellow dye here, and we're just going to pour it right over these eggs. Hopefully without spilling too much of it. That's more dye than I expected to get. So now we've got our eggs in there soaking. They should sit overnight. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about the origins of some of our Easter traditions. Give natural dyeing a try and post your pictures to our social media. We'd love to see how yours turned out. Thank you for joining us for Time Travel Tuesday. Have a great week and an awesome Easter.